When the plumber came by and saw what was in my pants, something so unexpected happened that I just had to share it with you. It all started on an unusually warm Friday afternoon. The kind of day where everything felt slightly off, like the world was tilted on its axis. I was home alone, trying to fix a leaky pipe under the bathroom sink. It had been dripping for weeks, and despite my best efforts, I'd made it worse. Water was now pooling on the tiles, soaking the bath mat. Frustrated, I finally called the service my friend recommended, Fast Fix Plumbing. They said they were reliable and affordable. The dispatcher told me someone would be there soon. About 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the door. And there he was. He looked nothing like I expected. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his dark blue uniform. He had a neatly trimmed beard, a jawline that looked like it was carved from stone, and these warm brown eyes that held a quiet confidence. His smile was so genuine, it completely disarmed me. "Hi, I'm Jesse from Fast Fix Plumbing," he said, his voice deep and steady. For a second, I forgot how to speak. I snapped out of it. "Oh, right. Thanks for coming so quickly. It's the bathroom sink. I made it worse." He chuckled softly, and the sound did something funny to my stomach. "Don't worry. Happens all the time. Let's take a look." I led him to the bathroom, suddenly hyper-aware of everything. Was the counter clean? Did I leave anything out? He crouched by the sink, and I tried to stay out of his way, but I couldn't help but watch him. The way his shirt stretched across his back, the focus in his eyes. "So," he said, breaking the silence. "You tried to fix this yourself?" "Yeah," I admitted, feeling sheepish. Not my finest moment. He glanced up with a grin. "Well, I'll let you know if it's salvageable or if you've committed a plumbing crime." I laughed, the tension easing. "Do your worst." For the next few minutes, I just watched him work. His movements were efficient, practiced, mesmerizing. He'd explain what he was doing in this calm, reassuring voice, but I wasn't really listening to the words. I was distracted by the way his forearms flexed, the way his eyes narrowed in concentration. At one point, he turned to ask me a question and caught me staring. "Sorry, what?" I said, my face heating up. "I asked if you've had any other plumbing issues," he repeated, a knowing glint in his eye. No. Just this one." "Got it," he said, holding my gaze for a heartbeat longer before turning back. He stood up a few minutes later, wiping his hands on a rag. "Good news and bad news." "Let's start with the bad news," I said. "The pipe's pretty worn down. It'll hold for now, but you might need a replacement soon." "And the good news?" "I fixed your leak," he said, that smile returning. "For now, anyway." "Thank you," I said, relief washing over me. "You're a lifesaver." "It's my job," he said with a shrug, but there was a warmth in his tone that made my chest feel tight. I realized, with a jolt, that I was incredibly attracted to him. As he gathered his tools, I didn't want him to leave. Do you want some water or something? It's pretty warm out." He looked at me, thoughtful, and for a second I thought he'd say no. Then he nodded. "Sure. Water sounds great." In the kitchen, our fingers brushed as I handed him the glass. A jolt of electricity shot through me. He must have felt it too, because his hand lingered for just a moment. "Thanks," he said, his voice softer now. "No problem," I replied, my throat suddenly dry. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence was heavy, charged with something I couldn't name. "Do you usually offer water to your plumbers?" he asked, a teasing edge to his voice, "or am I just special?" "You're special," I blurted out. His eyebrows shot up, and then he laughed, a deep, warm sound that made my cheeks flush. "Good to know," he said, setting the glass down. He stepped closer. Not too close, but enough that I could feel the warmth coming from him. "You're different," he said quietly, his eyes searching mine. "So are you," I replied, barely above a whisper. The tension was almost unbearable. A silent pull that neither of us was willing to break. He stepped even closer, his gaze intense. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. I could see the faint freckles on his nose, the way his lips quirked up. "You're staring," he said softly, his voice low. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize," he interrupted, his lips curving into a full smile. "I don't mind." There was a vulnerability in his tone that caught me off guard. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, I found myself taking a small step forward. He didn't move away. He leaned in slightly. The air grew heavier, almost unbearable. I could feel the heat radiating from him. "Jesse," I said, my voice a whisper. He tilted his head, his expression softening. "Yeah?" I hesitated, my throat tight. What was I trying to say? That I couldn't stop staring? That my pulse raced every time he smiled? Before I could figure it out, he reached out. His hand brushed lightly against mine. The touch was fleeting, but it sent a shiver down my spine. "Sorry," he said quietly, though the way his hand lingered told me he didn't mean it. "Don't be," I said quickly. His eyes darkened slightly, and his fingers curled around mine in a gentle, deliberate grip. "I don't usually do this," he admitted, his voice low and rough. "But there's something about you." The way he trailed off made my chest tighten. Before I could overthink it, I leaned in and closed the gap between us. It was instinct. Natural. And then his lips were on mine. The kiss was soft at first, tentative. But when I leaned into him, he deepened it. His hand cupped the side of my face, his touch warm and grounding. It sent a wave of heat rushing through me. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. All I could do was feel. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathless, our foreheads resting together. "I shouldn't have done that," he said, though his tone lacked any real conviction. "I'm glad you did," I replied, my voice steady despite my pounding heart. He let out a soft laugh, his thumb brushing my cheek. "You're something else, you know that?" I didn't know how to respond, so I just stayed quiet, lost in the moment. His hand lingered on my waist. "This isn't exactly professional," he said, a hint of regret in his voice. "I don't care," I said. "I know it's complicated, but I don't regret it." He studied me for a long moment, his expression softening. "Neither do I." The air between us shifted, the tension easing into something softer, more real. "I should probably finish packing up," he said, though he didn't move. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Right." For a moment, neither of us moved. We were both just processing what had happened. "Do you need anything else fixed?" he asked finally, a small, shy smile playing on his lips. I shook my head. "No. You've done enough." "Okay," he said, nodding slowly. "I'll, grab my tools." He turned to leave, but I reached out and grabbed his hand. He stopped immediately, glancing back at me with surprise and curiosity. "Jesse," I said, my voice steady. "Don't go yet." He hesitated, his eyes flicking down to our hands. I saw the conflict on his face. But then he nodded, his lips curving into a faint smile. "All right," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere." Relief flooded through me. I stepped back, gesturing toward the couch. "Why don't you sit down? You've been working." He chuckled. "It wasn't that much work. But sure." As he settled onto the couch, I grabbed us 2 fresh glasses of water. My hands were trembling. When I turned back, he was watching me, his gaze warm and steady. It made my pulse quicken all over again. I handed him the glass, our fingers brushing again. That small contact sent another jolt through me. "You okay?" he asked gently. I nodded, taking a sip of water. "Yeah. Just processing." "Me too," he admitted, leaning back. "This isn't exactly how I thought today would go." I laughed softly. "Yeah. Me neither." We sat in a comfortable silence for a few moments. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "What's your deal?" he asked, a teasing smile on his lips. I blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, leaning forward slightly, "guys like me don't usually end up, kissing people like you on a random Friday." My cheeks flushed. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I guess, maybe there's just something about you." He chuckled, the sound low and warm. "Smooth." I smiled despite myself. "What about you? What's your deal?" He grew serious. "Honestly? I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out since I walked in here. I keep things professional. Always. But the moment I saw you..." He trailed off, his gaze dropping. It's like everything I thought I knew went out the window. The vulnerability in his voice made my chest ache. "You don't have to explain yourself," I said softly. "I feel like I do," he said quietly. "Because it's not just some random thing for me. It means something." His words hit me square in the chest. "It means something to me, too," I admitted. The tension in the room grew heavier, charged with possibility. Jesse was the first to move, leaning forward and reaching for my hand. "Tell me to stop if this is too much," he said, his thumb brushing my knuckles. I shook my head. "Don't stop." He smiled, a small, almost shy smile that made my heart ache. And then he leaned in. This time, the kiss wasn't hesitant. It was sure. Confident. Filled with a warmth that spread through me like wildfire. His hand cupped the back of my neck, pulling me closer. The world outside faded away, leaving just us. It was a kiss that felt like a promise. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless. "You're incredible," he murmured, his voice full of emotion. "So are you," I replied, my voice trembling. He smiled, his eyes soft. "I don't know where this is going," he admitted. "But I want to find out." "Me too," I said. And I meant it with every fiber of my being. We just sat there, hands intertwined, in a silence filled with a quiet understanding. This was just the beginning. And I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. So, what do you think? Would you have done the same as me? Please let me know in the comments.